Hey, what's up gamers? Yep, my NES game is still not finished. So instead of putting out the postmortem video like I promised, I'm making yet another update. There are three main things that are delaying me right now. One is the physical cartridges, of course. We will talk about that a bit later. The second one is this very annoying bug that I haven't been able to fix. I had it a couple of times during my playthroughs and it makes you think that there is something seriously wrong with the game. And the third reason is basically that a month has passed since my last video and I feel very bad that I haven't put anything out. And since I feel anxious about it, I can't concentrate on fixing the bug. Okay, let's talk about the changes that I made since my last video. I mostly did a lot of small tweaks and fixes that would be probably too boring if I started mentioning them all. So let's better take a look at the most noticeable changes. So I wanted for the endgame cutscene to nicely fade out and fade in into the title screen when you press the start button. But by trying to do that, I also made that the game now nicely fades in when you reset the console. The food spoilage system in my game was, well, a bit broken. Imagine you hunt two rabbits, one in the morning and the second one before nightfall. Both of them will rot the same amount at midnight, even though the last one should be technically more fresh. So to improve that, I made that the food items would rot a very small amount during every hour and a half in the game time. Also, I'm finally using the item wear table, which previously I only used for weapons and tools. So now I can make fish or mushrooms spoil faster than, let's say, a cake. So if you never experienced all your food items suddenly turning into a bunch of poopies, now you definitely will. Another noticeable change is the connection between the boss room and the secret cave. So when you visit the boss, as always, it will try to tell you that you need to bring him Granny's head or something. But in order to do that, you need to go all the way back, right? Well, not anymore. At first I thought maybe I should need to add a teleport. But then I added a new entrance that will lead you to a new screen. From this screen you can reach the secret cave, and by leaving that cave you will be exactly in the location where the Granny's house is. So you can pay her a visit. Of course, if you hit the boss, the new entrance will be closed automatically. So you will have to fight or flee. Speaking of the boss, it kind of bugged me that its hitbox doesn't match the picture. Especially when the boss walks to the left or right. When you attack, sometimes it might seem that you're hitting air, but the boss gets the damage. So now I created a new table for the custom NPC hitbox sizes. But for now, only the boss has a different hitbox size there. All others still use the old size, which is sprite count multiplied by 8. Actually, using this table for collisions surprisingly helped me to reduce the lag quite a bit when there are a lot of creatures on the screen. Also made the boss a little bit chunkier now, so it would fit the hitbox better. Later I noticed a very interesting thing while testing my game on a Famiclone. I always test the PAL NES version there because the NTSC version is way too slow. This time the game ran extremely fast. The bunnies were running like crazy. Since I don't have a PAL NES, I tried to test the same ROM on Messen with PAL region set. But surprisingly everything was like it should. The animals moved normally. So what the heck? But then I turned the region to Dendy and I was able to reproduce the exact same behavior. It turns out all these Famiclones had the CPUs that run at the same frequency as the original Famicom. But the clones are producing less frames than the Famicom. So their CPU has more time to do additional stuff between the frames. So if your game is laggy like mine, who knows, it might perform a little bit better on a Famiclone. Maybe I should even make a third ROM version for the Famiclones. How about that? One thing that annoys me a bit, why the option for the Famiclones in every emulator nowadays is called Dendy. Why it's not Subor or Pegasus or, I don't know, Polystation. So okay, you might be saying, enough of that. What about the cartridges? Look what I've got. These are definitely not final. They're more like prototypes. Of course, it's a big step in the right direction compared to what I had before. Especially the NES cartridge. It no longer looks like this neo-caveman contraption for Mad Max. It's a normal cartridge that I can now slide in, push down and play the game. Although there's a hole in the case. Well, obviously there are many more things that are not quite right with these cartridges. But let's start from the beginning, shall we? So after my last video I redesigned my Famicom cartridge PCBs so they would fit nicely into these new cases I bought. Also aligned the contact plates on both the NES and Famicom PCBs so they would be perfectly mathematically aligned with the measurements that I found on the NES Dev Wiki. And then I finally ordered my PCBs on GLC PCB. But I made a huge mistake. Can you guess what it was? This time I picked a different surface finish for my PCBs. As you know, just covering the copper with solder is not good enough. I wanted my PCBs to be covered with gold. GLC PCB has this option called ENIG, which stands for Electroless Nickel Immersion Gold. Also this time I selected the gold fingers option, which is called edge connector on the PCBWay site. If you miss that option, your edge connector plates might get these weird bumps on them. Unfortunately, this time I could not select the communist red PCB color, so I picked purple, since I like this color a lot, and who knows, it might go quite well with gold plating. So after I finished my order, I was googling something about the cartridge making and I accidentally stumbled upon this interesting article. It's basically about how to determine if a cartridge you want to buy is of good quality. It goes into quite a bit of detail about the PCB surface finishes. Basically, if you look at contact plates of any cartridge, you can tell right away if that cartridge is crap, if those contact plates aren't yellow. If it's silvery gray, then it most likely it's bad news. Because this surface cover will be quickly stripped away with heavy usage. And you will need to constantly clean the contacts of this cartridge. And not to mention, you will be polluting the cartridge slot of your console. The ENIG surface cover that I picked is not the best either. It's not really meant for a contact plates of a cartridge that you frequently insert into a console. Basically there are two main gold platings. The soft gold, which the ENIG actually is, and the hard gold. So the hard gold would be the perfect option for the cartridges. Actually, all the original Nintendo carts had this plating. You can tell if it's hard gold if there are wires coming from each contact plate. Unfortunately, GLC PCB doesn't even have the hard gold option. I found this option only on PCBWay site. But the production price is, well, it makes such PCB extremely expensive. I don't think my game is worth that. Also found this interesting video where a guy tests out various cartridge surface finishes by inserting a cartridge like 1000 times. You can actually see what happens to the edge connector contact plates after all these insertions. So I think I would rather stick with ENIG, since I doubt that anyone would even try to insert my game more than 10 times. Also, the article that I mentioned earlier says that the bevel on a cartridge's edge connector is also very important because it protects the console's cartridge slot from being damaged. Plus the cartridge slides in more smoothly. I checked all the Chinese pirate cards I had, and almost all of them had these edge connectors with almost 90 degrees sharp edges. And I guess I made the same mistake as pirates. Although probably pirates didn't care that much. I did not put that bevel and I forgot to add a small gap below the edge connector plates and the PCB outline. Actually, PCBWay even recommends that you would leave at least half of a millimeter there if you're making an edge connector. So even if I try to make that bevel by hand with some sandpaper or a file, I would damage the plating cover. I tried that with the red PCBs, by the way, and the results weren't good. It doesn't cost anything to make that bevel in factory, but when I was ordering, I didn't know any better. And now it was too late. So I told myself not to panic. I will try to assemble 2 prototype cartridges with the PCBs I will get, and then I will make another order. But this time I will add a space between plates and outline, and also order a bevel to be made. So yeah, after a little less than half a month, I got my flawed PCBs. But they still looked extremely nice, if you ignore the sharp edge, of course. In fact, the edge was so sharp you can cut paper with it. So I assembled the cartridges, and what do you know? They both worked flawlessly. Then I did some experiments with the AT-Tiny microcontroller, which mimics the CAC chip on an original NES cartridge. That's why I cut the case here, because both NES and Famicom cartridge cases are too tight and there's not enough room to have a socketed IC there. I originally wanted to see what would happen if I put my cartridge with the American region set into a PAL NES. But apparently no one I knew in vicinity had an unmodified PAL NES. And myself, I only have an American NES. In my older video I said that when you flash the microcontroller that mimics the CAC, you need to set the calibration byte programming to write to EEPROM. And it's not necessary. It can be disabled. You need to press the reset button when the game boots up 4 times, and after that the game will start working. So yeah, I finally had fully working cartridges, but one really important thing was still missing: the artwork stickers. I definitely needed to print them somewhere, and that somewhere obviously should not be at home, but in some professional print shop. Luckily there are a lot of them around. But which one to choose? Like with PCB manufacturers, some of the print shops want very large orders. So if you're not a company, then it's like bad news for you. I randomly picked one printing service from my web search because the prices seemed low enough. I decided to try things out with the Famicom cartridge sticker first. So when it comes to printing, I'm extremely inexperienced there. So I realized I already made a big mistake by drawing the artwork in GIMP. GIMP mainly supports RGB color format, which is not good for printing at all. Sure, you can send the RGB images, but the colors in your final print will definitely not going to be the same as on your screen. So for printing you have to use CMYK format. Because of that I switched to Krita. Not only it supports CMYK, but also when it comes to drawing it's much nicer program compared to GIMP. So I hastily put together this sticker. I decided not to use any random Japanese writings like Family Computer, because it's a Nintendo's trademark. I thought that a QR code would be cool instead. So if you, for instance, take a picture of my cartridge, you could instantly go to my itch.io site with just one click. So I tried to place an order and there was this description section, I didn't know what to write there. It was poorly explained, so I was like, just make me 10 stickers, please. So after a few moments, I received an email telling me to transfer 30 euros. I was like, what? Are you crazy? 30 euros for 10 tiny stickers. Apparently that description box was there for a reason. I had to describe my sticker measurements in detail. So by default they would just slap a single image on an A4 page. So if I paid those 30 euros, I most likely would receive 10 giant stickers. In the end, there was still a miscommunication between us, and I received a single sheet with stickers that are 2 millimeters smaller than they should be. Also note that they are really dark. This is because there's a difference between colors on your display and on paper. A color on a screen emits light, while a color on paper reflects it. So a darker color on a screen might not look that dark. Meanwhile, the same color on paper, depending on lighting, might look completely black. Later I came up with a theory that if the printed image looks good in black and white and you can tell what is what, then most likely it will going to look good in color as well. So I was for round 2. Fight. Probably a smart decision would be to choose a different shop this time. But since I'm not very smart, I decided to stick with the same one. This time I wanted to make a sticker for the NES cartridge. Last time I printed on a glossy sticker paper, which wasn't that bad. But this time I wanted to try out the PVC tape, because I thought it's a superior option. It's supposed to be more durable and it's more expensive. I also wanted my sticker to be cut out with a laser, so I would not have to cut it out with scissors like I did with the Famicom stickers. Even though I tried really hard, those rounded corners still look really ugly. At first I tried to use the same Famicom cartridge artwork for the NES sticker, but it was obvious it's not gonna work. So since I like drawing so much, I decided to draw a completely new artwork. Although I tried to make it very similar to the Famicom piece. Finally, I created a sticker cutout shape with Inkscape and exported it as PDF. Then I thoroughly described every sticker measurement in the order form. And after a few days, I finally received my stickers. I actually was pleasantly surprised at first, because wow, I got exactly what I wanted. So I was eager to stick that new sticker on a cartridge, but I was soon to be disappointed. First of all, it was super hard to apply the sticker, because if you're not careful, you can easily get some air bubbles. But the most disappointing part was that you can easily scratch the artwork. For instance, when you try to pop that air bubble. I think even that cheaper paper sticker was more resistant to scratches. So yeah, unfortunately, it's still not good enough. Looks like I will have to search where I can print some laminated stickers that would have a good scratch protection. At least now I have some experience how to design a sticker with completely free software and how to properly order it. So yeah, that's the current state of things right now. I'm still waiting for my circuit boards to arrive that have that bevel on the edge connectors. I need to change the colors for the Famicom design and I need to print some laminated stickers. And I also have this serious bug that I haven't fixed yet. Plus I should mention that I recently received a bunch of nice NES shells from AliExpress. So I no longer have to use those crappy shells that I bought before. Right now I don't know if I'm gonna make those game manuals. Because as you see, there's a lot of hassle with printing. That's why most definitely I won't even try to make the boxes. So no boxes, manuals, maybe not. So right now we could estimate that the cartridge price could be around 20 euros. Maybe a little less, but most likely a bit more. plus the postage. I've added an email in my channel's description where you can write me if you want to get the cartridge. So if you paid me money on itch.io already, it would be nice if you could write from the same email that is attached to your PayPal. This way I could make you a discount if you want. Some of you might even get the cartridge for free that way. Also, it's very important that you would write where you're from, so I could estimate the postage. But you definitely don't need to put your exact address right now. Also, it's very important that you would tell what kind of cartridge you want, the NES or the Famicom. Another important option is which ROM image you want. For instance, if you want to play on the PAL NES, perhaps you need to get the PAL ROM. So when everything is ready, I will get back to you. We will finalize the deal and you will get the cartridge. Actually, I could even put the cartridges on eBay if you want. Sure, they will be a bit pricier there. One of my viewers asked me to put the cartridge on Vinted. I might do that for him, but I still think eBay would be more accessible internationally, since Lithuania, where I'm from, is closed off with Poland and Finland in Vinted. So this time for real, the next video will be a post-mortem of my NES game. I'll talk about all the things that went wrong and what I've expected from this project to be. As always, huge shout out goes to the awesome channel members: Retro Sorkas, Tim Beimer, Christopher Vigran, Mr. Kiesha, Sakrine, and Mark. Thank you, guys. So yeah, thanks for watching till the end, and I will hopefully see you in a next video. Bye bye.